Good evening. My name is Jill Crisanda, and I did my molecular diary project on fluoxetine. Last week we had discussed the skeletal structure of my molecule and where each hydrogen and carbon were located. We had also discussed the different functional groups found within my molecule. Lastly, we had also discussed the different types of geometry we could find throughout the structure, what degree they were bent at, and what they would be called. This week on our video, we will be talking about the solubility of the molecule, whether or not what its melting point is, and whether or not it is acidic or basic. So looking at my molecule, I believe that it is soluble in water due to its ratio. So going back at it, it may look like that it is insoluble due to the molecular structure. But if you research it farther in, you will find out that up here in this fluorine group, this is also a functional group called a halogen that we have not learned about in chemistry. And this halogen adds into the functional groups and whether or not a molecule can be soluble or not. So this made this molecule more polar, making it slightly polar in water. And as we've discussed in chemistry, like dissolves like, therefore, water being polar the molecule being slightly polar will dissolve in polar water. Going back into my research on the first time we had done research about fluoxetine, I found that fluoxetine will dissolve in water under certain conditions. It has to be 50 milligrams per milliliters at 25 degrees Celsius, making it serious conditions for this to dissolve in water. Next, I would like to talk about the melting point. So when we go back and look at the melting point, due to it being slightly polar, you would think that it would have a dipole-dipole reaction happening here, because it does have this NH group over here. So this NH group gives it a dipole-dipole, and that allows it to have a higher attraction force. Going back into the research, the attraction or the melting point was 182 degrees Celsius, which was a little bit higher than what I expected. And going back and trying to research and find why it was higher, I had a hard time trying to find. But throughout process of elimination, I've decided that it has to do with this halogen and this extra functional group up here. And lastly, we will talk about whether or not my molecule is acidic or basic. So trying to find whether or not this molecule whether or not it was acidic or basic was a little bit hard due to it doesn't have really any acidic parts to it, but it did seem like it would have a basic piece right here just because it has an amine. And many basic solutions do have an amine right here. Sorry, let me color it with a darker color. Right over here by this NH group, because it does have a lone pair. But when you look at the entire molecule altogether, it's a lot of hydrocarbons with just a few organic compounds, which would make it almost neither. And so my final conclusion on whether or not it was acidic or basic was that it is neither acidic or basic. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great night.